Welcome to episode 45 of the Fast Soul Music Podcast with me, London Electricity. And this is out this week, brand new collaboration with Danny Bird. It's called Echoes in the Dance. And it is from my forthcoming album on the Fast Soul Music label that is called Lunatics and Legends. More about that in a second. And if you were down at the Fast Soul Music session at the Fox and Firkin last Friday, you would have witnessed me and Danny Bird going toe-to-toe for 2 hours, giving you a golden age of liquid back-to-back set. Thanks to Carousel for coming and hosting. It was another sold-out session. And heads up, the next one is on the 14th of November. At the legendary Fox and Firkin. Tickets are on pre-sale right now. And we are working our way towards the release of my debut album on Fast Soul Music. It's called Lunatics and Legends, and it looks like this. It's a double vinyl gatefold. Comes out on the 14th of November, I think. And you can pre-order this right now on my Bandcamp. Together with the Lunatics and Legends t-shirt as a bundle. Have a look, investigate. Loads of unreleased stuff on this that you haven't heard yet. Okay, so you lovely people have answered my call and you have told me about your formative experiences in the rave over the years. So let's call this episode The Rave Is History. Before that, a little bit of gig news. I'm playing Back to Mine in Tunbridge Wells tonight. I'm playing Porcelanova 23 in Katowice in Poland on the 23rd of October. And October and November, I'm doing a big tour of Australia and New Zealand, kicking off at the Mothership in Auckland on the 24th of October. I asked you to tell me your best memories from raving. Could be this year or 30 years ago. I want to hear about your connection on the dance floor. And this is what you said. LELs, I love the excitement before a big night out. Getting ready, making plans, trips to the end and to Fabric, meeting new people, closing my eyes and connecting with the music and letting the week and worries wash away. AJ Bosiak. My now husband and I met at your hospitality night on the 20th of April 2007 at Herbal in Shoreditch. You were on the door and possibly you played. I did play. And I think it was before then, because we did our last one in 2005, I believe, at Herbal. 18 years and a child later, we are still together, and we saw you at the Fox and Firkin on Friday night. Wow, so yeah, it was a family affair. When we started hospitality at Herbal, there was me, there was the Lady Culminator, there was Tomahawk and Chris Goss. And between us, we used to man the till, take your money, which was £4 before 10 p.m, £5 after. And we used to take it in turns to do the guest list. We used to put the banners up at the beginning, take them down at the end. And I would always play, Tomahawk would play, and Chris Goss would play upstairs doing a funk set. That's where it all started. Carter Phil says, went to a proper grubby drum and bass night in Aberystwyth. Must have been the late summer of 1999. Got introduced to a guy called Mike. Very much a kindred spirit. Dancing ensued. We all went onto the beach for the afters. Someone got a big fire going in a secluded nook between the dunes. People came and went over the hours. Everyone sat and talked and smiled and laughed and hugged and talked some more. Mike and I took ourselves to the top of the nearest dune, and with the sound of a crackling fire below, the light of the sparks rising from the flames, and over a shared cigarette or two, we built the pillars of a friendship that endures to this day. Phil Carter, that is wicked, that's cinematic, that's atmospheric. Love it. DJ Squake. It was my third Sun and Bass on my 40th birthday, and they just happened to line up with the last night of the festival. As the music was brought down, I was sang Happy Birthday to by Fats, and the rest of the room joined in. As if this wasn't amazing enough, as we strolled to the beach for sunrise, I was gifted giant birthday cards, which was then passed around amongst the many great friends and artists all around and signed with well wishes. I was in tears with absolute joy. I remember sitting there surrounded by so much love, just looking up at the sky and overflowing with gratitude. This was one of the most special moments at not just a rave, but in my life. Had to really put it into words, the joy and love of that morning. And this is Calibre and Singing Fats. Drop it down. Rest in everlasting peace, the mighty Fats. Jump up and down, love me so bold. Right now, no, never do you no wrong. I rock the old, I rock the young. I rock the weak, I rock the strong. Jump up and down, love me so bold. Said no way, right now, no, never do you no wrong. And Rose Pride writes in and says, just after I come back from Sun and Bass in 2016, I was wearing an S&B t-shirt to a gig. On the dance floor, this girl called Emily Pollyanna Jackson came up to me and said, I like your shirt, and we became instant best friends. Since then, we've travelled the world together, attended many international D&B festivals, and been through every possible high and low together. So this is what can happen. You can meet people for life at a rave. Go to a real rave. Don't be on your phone. Actually connect and talk to people. Rose Pride. Just after I had come back from Sun and Bass in 2016, I was wearing a Sun and Bass t-shirt to a gig. On the dance floor was this person called Emily Pollyanna Jackson, and she came up to me and said, I like your shirt. We became instant best friends. Since then, we've travelled the world together, attended many international D&B festivals, and we've been through every possible high and low together. So, the lesson you can learn from that is, when you go to a rave, make sure it's a proper rave where everyone's not on their phones. Connect with people, talk to people, get to know people. Ask their names, take their phone numbers. You could meet friends for life at a rave.
How am I supposed to try to love you and be by your side?
Just be present, be in the moment.
To realize what I've got in you and what you got in me. Hell yeah.
Thomas Williams says, at the Thekla in 2008, having a tab outside. I think that's a cigarette. And hearing you start the intro to Just 1 Second. And we all sprinted into the dance floor and went nuts. It was pure joy. I'm still obsessed with drum and bass and how it never fails to elevate my day. Even if it's just to accompany house chores. Yeah, drum and bass really is the ultimate multifunction music. Mark Bezaberry says, Tony, anyone that's raved properly has no memories. Christopher Evans says, watching Brian G play at a club in Dubai in 2016. A guy next to me recreated a line from the cult classic film Twin Town by rubbing some artificial grass, which I recall was on the very low section of club ceiling, and over the tunes getting out, this grass is really effing lovely, with no idea that I was from South Wales. We had some great chat on the follow-up. Vip was the fella's name, and I still think about it and laugh from time to time. And if you don't know, you see, in Dubai, if you're caught with real with real grass, I mean, it can be a death sentence, but many years in prison at minimum. So probably a bit of AstroTurf over the decks was the closest that you'd get in Dubai. Polski Lawson says, my best memories are being at the Paradise Club in 1994, watching DJ Randall, rest in everlasting peace. Playing at 6 a.m. and every single tune was a dub plate to remember. It was a magical experience, and GQ just flowed with him. Big shout to Gary. Jim Bob from Dorset. Spies set at Sun and Bass in 2010 as the sun came up and shone through to the dance floor. Pure faces of joy throughout. And this is the absolute all-time classic by Spy. It's called By Your Side. Beck A. Land. Yes, Becca. All the way from Australia. And Becca says the deep bass vibrations from the speaker behind the decks at the end. Well, that lives rent-free in my body. So many of these clubs are RIP and rest in peace to the end. Some absolutely amazing sessions there. Ram Nights, Swerve with Fabio and Groove Rider. I remember in 1997, I was at an all-nighter as the election results came in. And I think it was like a 12-year stint of Conservative government was swept away by Tony Blair, New Labour. Little did we know what Labour had in store for us then and what it has in store for us now. Free Palestine. Let's get the Zios out. Come on. Adam Reed says, Venue 44 before it was Viberlight in Mansfield and then Club Kinetic before it closed. Proper hardcore raver I was. White gloves, glow sticks, loved up vibes. Lively and Stu Allen sets were the best. Over the years I went from hardcore to jungle to drum and bass. Gotta love the music. Andrew Show in Lee writes in and says, hospitality at the O2 in Birmingham in 2018. It was the first time I ever heard a tune of mine on a big system. You opened your set with In the Forest of Dreams. I will never forget screaming at the person next to me going, that's my tune. And getting this confused look back like, oh yeah, getting this confused look back from him like, what on earth are you on about? So this is Natus in the Forest of Dreams. Thanks for your shout, Andrew. The legendary Colin Lodge writes in, and I saw Colin at Fast Soul Music at the Fox and Firkin last Friday. Absolute legend of liquid drum and bass. Colin says, 8 years ago, I was scared to go clubbing, as I was so old and I'd get the piss taken out of me. Instead, every person I've met in drum and bass has been friendly and supportive. I've got two highlights. Dancing on stage with Tempser at a Hybrid Minds gig in Cambridge. My 70th birthday bash last year, where I managed to book Keno, Etherwood and Rhea. But honestly, drum and bass has saved my life. It saved my life when I was sick and depressed, because of the wonderful people I've met. Well, Colin, it was amazing to see you last Friday. Thanks for coming, mate. Okay, so Paul Spiteri. Yes, Paul, big up, Paul. Paul says, I was a bit loved up with my girlfriend at the time, and we might have been a bit naughty behind the speakers in Club Labyrinth, and some kind soul left a set of step ladders behind, presumably whilst wiring up the bass bin. I still can't quite picture how you use the... I don't want to know, Paul, how you use those step ladders with your girlfriend. But yeah, Paul, thanks for booking me. Paul is organising my tour of Australia and New Zealand. Big up. I'll see you in about a month, Paul. Cannot wait. So check my socials for all the dates in Australia and New Zealand. Actually, no, let's read them out. 24th of October, the Mothership, Auckland. 25th of October, Eclipse in Brisbane. 26th of October, Air D&B at the Lion Art Factory in Adelaide. Friday the 31st of October, Chinese Laundry Sydney. That is a 3-hour set. Cannot wait for that. Saturday, November the 1st, I'm playing at Villa in Perth. Monday, November the 3rd, I'm playing at Misfits in Melbourne. That's going to be another 3-hour epic session. Friday, November the 7th, Mystery Festival in Christchurch with Danny Bird and many others. Saturday, November the 8th, High Tide Festival in Wellington, also with Danny. See you all there, people of New Zealand and Australia. Oh, Becca Land is back. Rebecca says also, I have to make special mention to the DJ Hype set in a tent at a Perth Music Festival in 2001 that cemented my absolute love for D&B music. Massive shout to Kevin Hype. Chrissy174 says, my enduring memory is hearing Andy C play Atlantis at the last ever Ram night at the end. I won't ever forget that. This is LTJ Bookham. Atlantis. Owen Bell writes him and says, I met one of my best mates at a rave back in 1992. It was probably reincarnation at Crystal Palace. 21 years ago this year, I married her and we are still dancing, laughing and loving life together. Owen, mate, I know you came to the Fox and Firkin last Friday, so thank you for coming. I think you might have told me another story. I can't remember. If so, I'm sorry. At my age, my memory is not what it used to be. And that isn't because of raving. And Matt Cavortex Day, what does Cavortex mean? Says, I played my first ever set at Audio Lab in Stoke-on-Trent. And then I got a lift to a rave in a cave.
Hold me tight, don't ever let me go.
As you do. And I even found the same people.
I die
and with my vinyl in the boot, and I gave them a lift home many hours later. So you go to a rave, talk to people, and you might end up in a cave. Garrett Bricker says, my most enduring memory is getting to see the man John B himself at Starscape in 2008 and then getting to see this amazing sunrise right afterwards. When a good group of friends has an extra ticket, you just turn up at the show, damn it. Such a great lineup of DJs that year. Baltimore in the summer gets hot, but it was totally worth it. Yes, Garrett. And this, of course, is John B. Up All Night on Metalheads. An enduring classic. Roxy Everson says, 20 years ago, I had just met my husband and he took me to Brighton for the weekend. We went to one of your nights and we had the most incredible weekend. It cemented my love for him and the music, and we are still raving together right now. That must have been either audio or another night that I can't remember the name of. What? Oh yeah, digital in Brighton, that's right. Used to love playing digital, but I had a really terrible experience once. And I didn't behave well. So back in the days when I was playing vinyl, the decks kept skipping because people kept bumping into the decks. And I threw a hissy fit, much to my shame and regret, and stopped playing and walked out early. Only time I've ever done that. Yeah. I'm not proud of my behaviour then. I wasn't as serene and accepting as I am these days. So my apologies to everyone who came, and my apologies to the promoters as well. As you can tell, that lives rent-free in my head even now. Wah! And Cav Gerard Hart says, we used to throw a yearly rave in remembrance of someone dear to us. He had his all-time favourite song played at his funeral. Remember the Future.
I remember the future like it was only yesterday. Keep reminding myself to keep time, 'cause time can slip away. And it waits for no man, and it waits for no woman, and it craves no war. Turn back the clock just like we were before. I remember the
And Cav goes on, he says, you might remember, Tony, you giving us a shout out for our event, Stomp for Josh. And we remixed your shout out into the drum and bass on the night, and it was one of the best raves ever. Thank you for that. Thank you, Cav. This goes out to Josh. Rest in everlasting peace. And Claudia Wu has a lot of memories. So, first of all, Tony, you playing almost the whole soundtrack from Forza Horizon 4 at Japfest in Poland. Japfest is actually a car event. It's all about the cars. Japanese cars souped up. You know, loads of power sliding and all that kind of stuff. It was amazing. Did that with Degs. Also a memory of Ghost in the Shell's opening in drum and bass version for the first time. Hold tight, we'll play that next. Solar's face when she put the mic under my face at Club Gretchen so I could finish a phrase in a song and realise that I can sing. Not a rave memory. I started to cry when I approached Emma Deneen and Elsa Esmeralda at the Dolby event in 2019 when you were launching Building Better Worlds. I hid my face in my hands immediately. I saw Bulgarian Goddess in front of the Dolby sign and I kept her company because she was really nervous. I went to a PlayStation in concert at the Royal Albert Hall dressed as Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn game. At some point, Jessica Curry, a game score composer who hosted the concert, asked for me through the mic because Twitter exploded with people writing about my presence at the concert. I got up, the lights went on, the whole concert hall gave me an applause. Lenz's confused face at Studio 338 when she saw me in the same hospital t-shirt that she wore, but the t-shirt was not yet available for purchase. Getting to know the mighty Colin Lodge, the legendary drum and bass granddad, and being in touch, raving together ever since. Thank you, Claudia. Now, Claudia, I hope to see you on the 14th of November at the album launch. And you mentioned this tune. So this is the extremely understated Flight remix of Making of a Cyborg, aka the Ghost in the Shell theme. And Chris Hodge, who I don't know, I think is no relation to Colin Hodge, says DJing in a working man's club in Mexborough to 2 bar staff and 1 geezer on the dance floor playing on a one-armed bandit. Peak. Chris, I'm sure that was uber peak for you. Tamara Ann Caswell says, my best memory was my first ever Renegade hardware at the Ends. Also the last Ram records at the Ends. Second one for that show. Hardware, because the lineup was the best lineup I've ever seen. It was their Guerrilla Warfare album launch party, Pure Filth, all back-to-back specials. The likes of Noisia, Loxian Inc., Tech Itch, and the atmosphere was epic. I just fell in love with the venue. And the last ram at the end, and the end of the end, because they were emotional times. The end of an era, and seeing so many ravers walking around so emotional, welling up with tears rolling down their faces, me included. I'm so glad that I was a part of that. Don Law. My first outing would have been 1997, Moondance at the Bagley's, sweat dripping off the ceiling. I was 17, it was the first one I was allowed to go to. Following that, logical progression at Turn Mills. Forever pathing the path to good music, and 28 years later keeping the flame alive. Still best friends with Daryl Anthony, who introduced me to getting out and about at raves. I'm privileged to live in London, and I'm able to still get to great nights, including your recent fast soul music at the Fox and Firkin. James Michael Watson, who says 22 years ago, I went to my first legal age rave at the End. Trouble on Vinyl, Here Comes Trouble launch party. I think it was one of Pendulum's first UK sets. Anyway, 4 a.m. creeps round and everyone is suitably spangled. The MC starts handing out stuff from the booth, tape packs, other stuff, and then some vinyl. I've somehow managed to squeeze through and come away with a copy of Twist 'Em Out, my first ever D&B record. 22 years and 1,000 or so records later, here we are. So many tunes from that period, it seems like yesterday. Dean Tyler, I've got 4 life-changing memories. 17 years old in Ibiza with an ex-girlfriend's family in 2001. The ex and I ended up in Amnesia at a Cream event with Tiesto and Paul van Dyk doing a B2B. My love for partying began. 2003 at Concord 2 in Brighton, fell in love with breakbeat. Renegade Hardware, Christmas 2008, fell in love with drum and bass. 2012, I DJ'd both the main stage and terrace at Amnesia for Together, supporting Pendulum and Skrillex. It's been a wild journey, and I still love trance, breaks and drum and bass just as much as I ever did. Fantastic memories. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, so Paula Taylor Tap, sent in a photo, and she says, well, I think this photo sums up Matt Anile and I, our first meeting at a drum and bass rave at the End 20 years ago. And we have stayed raving together for 20 years. We bought a house together. We've got a child who we now take with us raving, and who loves it just as much as we do. And I've got to say, it was my pleasure at Sun and Bass 3 weeks ago to share some food, some laughs and some raving with Paula and Matt Anile. Absolutely lovely people. Big shout. This is Velvet Glove, of course, by Anile. So yeah, I haven't done a podcast since Sun and Bass. It was absolutely epic this year. So good. And I had the privilege of doing the last set on the beach on the Friday. We had a beautiful sunny day. Absolutely gorgeous. Catching Cairo stepped up. Did 2 tunes, including a brand new unreleased tune that is coming on my album. It's on here. The tune's called Love Bombs. You haven't heard it yet unless you were there. The album's called Lunatics and Legends. Yes, I am shamelessly plugging it. And it was hosted by the amazing Stamina. Big up Lyndon. And then also I was asked to close the entire festival at Amber Night. Wicked session. Thank you, Loki, for hosting that set. A real honour to get those sets at Sun and Bass. Martin Amos says, I've got a memory from Q Club in Birmingham in the late 90s. House of God. The lights and music suddenly go off. I assume it's a power cut or something. Until the lights go back on and there is a line of riot police in full gear with shields on the stage. Oh shit, we all think. Until the music goes back on and the police all start throwing shapes. Scene. Okay, Cam Orton says, London Electricity, your set at Heavyweight Sounds in Perth 2012. You opened with Voices of a Distant Star by Rezo, and it blew my freaking mind. This is a tune and a half. Shout to Alex Rezo. These memories are really something else. Not only for what you guys experienced and have remembered and the connections you've made, but the tunes associated with them as well. So good. And Alex Rezo was one of the most inventive technicians and composers and producers of drum and bass. Highly underrated. Absolutely amazing tunes he produced. And Gregory, this is a name and a half, check this out. Gregory, David, Peter, Haman, Swain. That's his Facebook name. Yes, Greg. We'll call you Greg. This one time, quite a few years ago, I had just watched London Electricity weave a magical 3-hour set at Metro City in Perth. He was leaning up against the bar by himself and I timidly walk up and say hi and divulge how much his music meant to me, including my love for hanging rock. After a quick chat, he gave me a hug. So yeah, message to all DJs and artists out there. Always hug your fans. Because 20 years later, they might write to you and tell you that it meant something to them. It's a shout out to the Swan Vest as well. Swan, wicked that you came down on Friday night. I apologise that I couldn't actually understand anything you were saying. I am quite deaf and I'm quite old and the music was really loud. But I really, really appreciate that you were there. And you brought your brother as well, which was huge. Really nice to meet him. And the mighty Pippin has just walked into the studio. Pips, come here, come here, come here, here. Okay, he's come back. He kind of doesn't like being picked up. You see, I wanted to pick him up and show him to you, but he's happier with his feet on the ground. Just had to show you that this is actually live and not synced, okay? And Jace Barreto says, this memory is up there when you came to Perth in the early 2000s with DJ Markey and you dropped Hanging Rock at Metro City. It was like nothing else, Tony. And this is the aforementioned Hanging Rock by me, London Electricity, from the Power Ballads album. I've got so many memories from Metro City as well. What a club, what a crowd. Morgan Edwards writes in and says, my best memory at a rave was back in 2004 at the legendary Government in Toronto. Now that club was absolutely sick. It was a highlight of any North American tour. And Morgan says, I somehow wound up with a VIP wristband. High Contrast was playing that night and I was so excited that I got to meet him. We chatted a bit before he went on stage. I watched his set from the stage and the moment he threw down Lovesick, my life changed. I remember thinking to myself, I don't think another moment will ever top this. It was beautiful watching the crowd from a different perspective and hearing such a powerful song. 21 years later, I can still remember it like it was yesterday. And Shaky Jake, best name so far, says 2008 Detonate Sheffield. I was 18. It was my first year let loose at university. It was a hospitality night with yourself and High Contrast. My first real introduction to D&B and it totally blew my mind. And I've been hooked ever since. I made some great connections and I did plenty of headbanging. I will remember that night until the day I die. So thank you for that. Shaky Jake, thank you for your shout. And that kind of memory is what this is all about. Making connections. This is Lovesick by High Contrast. Huge love going out to Lincoln Barrett. Liam Feely says Helter Skelter, Energy, 1997. Force and Styles main tent. Atmosphere was off the charts. It was that hot in the tent that a cloud was forming inside and it almost started to rain. Unbelievable day. Unbelievable event. You'll never beat that atmosphere of 10,000 people with whistles and horns at a 90s rave. It was something else. Denise Zibelli. I met some people at the parties who are still my best friends today, and one of them is even my partner. Huge shout out to Alex. Incredible connections at the Outlook Festival. And I was lucky enough to spend some time with Alex and Denise, as I do every year at Sun and Bass. They live in Sardinia. Alex always cooks up a huge storm with a barbecue and invites loads and loads of people round. A real pleasure and a privilege to know you guys. Stephen Williamson. My claim to fame raving was helping Nicky Black Market carry his record boxes up the stairs at Corporation in Sheffield in 2004. It does not get any better than that, carrying the legend Nicky Black Market's records. Did you help him with his thermos flask of tea though? Kevin O'Sullivan. Hospitality 2012 at Brixton Academy. Man, that was some night.
Something that everybody can understand.
Such a tune. Such a period of drum and bass. This next shout is an absolute classic. Check this out. Dr. Ishani Rayo says, I remember one of the first times that you and Degs dropped Paveglia. And a guy had a seizure in the audience at Tobacco Docks. So you stopped the set. I got to him before the paramedics and they let me manage him until he got to the hospital room because she is a doctor, a real doctor. Only then the adrenaline and the wine wore off and I realised that I was dressed as an egg. I found that costume on the floor at Hospitality Brixton years before and you had signed it. The guy was okay in the end. I mean, just imagine him like coming to and seeing a massive egg looking after him. He must have thought he was still out for the count.
bro, it ain't worth it. You know how these things turn out in the end.
And this, of course, is Paveglia by Degs.
It's all my fault, I'm returning. It ain't so easy just to knock it on the head. When I'm feeling like I'm falling into you, because just this one time you're making me unwind and see the truth.
Big shout out to Andy Deggs.
I never really wanted this, I gave you my excuse. You're taking the control, I'm watching it unfold, but I'm feeling good. Well, it was 8:21 on a Saturday, right? Had no plans to go out, just my suit.
James Lee writes in and says, me and Alex McClellan met in a mosh pit during a Keith Flint Prodigy tribute by Mike Freer at Boomtown Fair in 2019. One of my favourite sets and most cathartic moments in life. Me and Alex have remained good friends since, going to multiple Prodigy gigs together, other partying and meeting each other's friendship group. I've also become acquainted with Mike behind the scenes after my own entry to the festival circuit as a performer far more recently, and he's an absolute warrior and a joy to rave with.
Because just this one time you're making me unwind and see the truth. I never really wanted this, I gave you my excuse. You're taking the control, I'm watching it unfold, but I'm feeling good.
And Jenny Sampson says, the Power Ballads tour of 2005 at the Fiddlers in Bristol. I can remember dancing so hard that the stage we were on collapsed. Amazing times. Seeing you again at Back to the Barn was awesome. Thanks for coming to that, Jenny.
You're taking the control, I'm watching it unfold, but I'm feeling good. I pull up and we ride.
Come down to the next Fast Soul Music at the Fox and Firkin, 14th of November, Jenny. And we can share some more memories of that night, because a lot of things happen at Fiddlers in Bristol.
Story repeats, and every time it's like we push to.
And Stefan von Wolf says, the London Electricity Power Ballads tour in Heidelberg, Germany. That show was absolute fire. Until today, I have never seen anything comparable. I remember when we had that iteration of the live band, and that band was Landslide, Tim Landslide, who did all the kind of sample triggering along with me, Leanne Carroll on vocals and Wurlitzer electric piano, MC Rec, the Jungle Drummer on drums, and Andy Waterworth on bass, and the Lady Culminator on merchandise. We did a couple of really great German tours, and the Heidelberg show was next level. I can remember there being a kind of thrum in the air. We had released Power Ballads album earlier that year, and there was a huge expectation, which I've never really experienced before or since. Yeah, it was incredibly special. One of those nights where, as a performer, it kind of all comes together and you think all the blood, sweat and tears were worth it for this. Go on, Leanne. I can remember the very first time I played this record. I had just finished it, I cut a dub plate, and I had a show in Cardiff. Big shout to Dave, Concrete Junglist. It's a high contrast, and I opened my set with a dub plate of this tune. I reckon that was 2004.
The law of the jungle is by far the oldest law in the world.
So, Seth, I got lost in my own music then for a minute, forgive me. Seth Jethwa. Renegade Hardware Nights at the end were just something else. Tizo Zosa, 15th of May 1992, Fantasia. We felt like veterans back then. 7am LSD and Conrad. RIP the mighty Conrad. The sunrise, the dust. I've spent thousands of hours in raves since. That hour will always be my favourite ever. Keep dancing like everyone's watching. One love. I love that. Keep dancing like everyone's watching. Katie did. Little Steely Dan reference there. Walking into my first jungle room and knowing that I would be spending a lot of time alone in the dark where the brightest lights hide. Love that. Marianne Zabados. Drum and bass on the bike in Zurich last year, but on foot. It was a blast. I will definitely join again. Remrex Bed says, meeting my now husband at Sun and Bass, 2008. Richie Rolls says, Fantasia Summertime 1992 was the start for me. I will never forget that. Spiral Tribe. Memories I will never forget. Darren Burton, Andy C at Bagley's, 14th of June 2002. End of an era I do not need to explain. You don't need to explain. Jeff Reynolds, the government in Toronto, nothing more needed. Paul Harvard, music has moulded my team of friends from back in the 80s. Live music and free festivals were flowing for years to Glastonbury, Tonka Town, Elephant Fair, and the scares of Trewagi Festival with the start of Spiral Tribe. Then onto free parties, DIY and London club and warehouse party scene. Then moved to Brighton where it all kicked off, the big beat scene. Techno scene, trip hop science, so many parties on the beach. And disused shops, theatres became rave venues for years. And then Castle Norton, say no more. Still today, from age 16 to 55, I live for music and I still have friends that pan back to my youth in the 90s. Friends from sweaty nights, talking shit, dancing and having the same values in life. When you hear that beat, it never leaves you. It is in our blood. I'm very lucky to be a part of it, and I'm still lucky to be a part of it. Yes, Paul, very, very well said. I'm in my 65th year, and I'm still very, very lucky to be part of it indeed. Missy Carriage says, I got in a car with strangers I just met at a bar in Amsterdam who drove me to an illegal rave. Like in Holland they call that an outlaw. I like that. In the tulip fields where we danced till dawn. Hundreds of strangers. And then she says something about Iris Risk. So I took one. I guess that was the friend who coached you into the car. Thank you, Missy Carriage. Raving as the sun comes up in a field full of tulips. I love that. Kirill Cake says, I've got a memory from Sun and Bass. There's so many Sun and Bass memories. 2009-ish. Goldie dropping Pulp Fiction and everyone singing back the bass line. And this, of course, is Alex Reese, Pulp Fiction. I remember the first time I heard this was at Swerve in the Velvet Rooms. Fabio was playing it. And it felt like such a new, brand, original, groundbreaking tune. The way that bass, no one had done bass like that before. I knew that we were listening to the start of something different. Evening Wisteria says, I met a few folks at your last show in Denver at the Black Box. He's looking at you, GB. And you signed our Fast Soul Music shirts that we had on. The energy, the feeling, the vibes that night were unparalleled. I remember screeching with joy when you played your tune Electrify, and then you throwing in Caliber's Steptoe at some point. With how horrific things feel in the States right now, it buoyed me up to lose myself in the dance with you and all the ravers that night, to hear the songs that form the soundtrack to my life. Yeah, big up Wisteria. I really enjoyed that show at the Black Box. I would like to come back to the States, but I've got to be completely honest, I don't feel safe travelling to America anymore. Don't want to be like in prison for hating on Trump and Vance and all the MAGA cunts and supporting Palestine and hating what Israel's doing there. So I don't know, mate. Yeah, it's a shame because I've got a visa, but maybe something will pan out. Very, very grateful that I've been able to come to the States for the last couple of years so many times, and it's been fun. Big shout out to all my USA ravers. Agent 137 NYC, New York City. As people post in the Sun and Bass Facebook group, I'm seeing people in pictures that had shared dance floor space together throughout the week once or twice, and then saw each other the rest of the week and would smile or high five or chat with each other. People from all over the world. It's a beautiful thing to be connected through dance and joy.
You know just the words that turn me on.
I love how social media points to them later so I don't lose that with them, and we can keep high-fiving each other throughout our lives. Yeah, that is the really, really good side of social media, is enhancing and building connection. Dean Technotic says, there are too many memories to mention, Tony, but the recent one for me was 2023, St Paul's Carnival, seeing DJ Randall back-to-back DJ Die in Portland Square. It was the last time I got to see Randall throw down in front of thousands of people. Incredible. Rest in peace, the legend. And this is Watch the Ride. Shake the foundations. Rest in glory, Randall. That girl Kay writes in and says 2011 global gathering, I met the love of my life. 2013 global gathering, the love of my life proposed to me with an onion ring. He's a keeper. 10 years married and we are still raving together.
Are you ready for this?
And me, PC Bowls, writes in and says, one night at the Egg, I was absolutely loving Kings of the Rollers, and when my friends went home, I met a nice guy loving it too. I ended up running 7 miles home at 6 a.m. after a whole night of dancing, and I still see his updates on Facebook. Your Faces Molly writes in and says, always the community. One of the many moments that sticks out is when I was working on a festival stage and Tony, you were playing next. You saw that I was looking knackered from the long day and you pulled out a sandwich and a bottle of water from your bag and you gave them to me saying, come on love, let's have a little dance. Absolutely made my day. Loco312 says proposing to Emma Lees under the influence at Hospitality Barbecue at 338 many a moon ago. Falling in love with hospitality at Global Gathering in 2012. That tune's just finished. And ABZ Laura says, I have many of these stories, but the most recent one being I danced with people at Locust in Bali. I didn't even speak, it was just vibes. Ended up going to a whole weekend camping festival with them just from that junglist connection. Ravers are the best crew. Jimmy Zaremski says, I saw Metric and Andy C in Chicago at the Sound Bar and I met this dude outside the club. He was from the UK and was working in the US. We bonded over our love of Calibre and drum and bass in general. We went to several other D&B and house events over that year and we fell out of touch. I always wonder how he's doing. Big up, Patrick. You were a fun rave, pal. And Hanny Photography, it was 2010 in Mata. We went up on the terrace for some fresh air. By the way, I'm from Slovakia and was there with my other Slovak friends. Suddenly we got asked by this couple if we can take a photo of them. They started to speak Slovak between them and me and my friend were shocked. It's not so many of us in the UK. We became very good friends and we still keep in touch. We also went to Sun and Bass that year. Dalian Moya says, wanting to see a London electricity set for half my life and finally being able to in 2023, I almost cried. Hope that wasn't because it was terrible, but thank you. Sarah Brown 2015, Roxanne Parler in 2011, Netsky, Chase and Status, Subfocus. My new boyfriend, my now husband, and I went for our first trip together for this show, and we were so psyched. When Netsky was playing, the whole floor in that building was moving. It was like dancing on waves, and ended up hanging with a few people who were so nice after. After his set, we bumped into Boris having a ciggy, and we had a chat. He's the nicest dude ever, and we were both fangirling. Ha ha ha. Still makes my belly go funny when I think about how much fun we had. And Mirol says, I went to a D&B party in Mannheim, Germany. The headliner was Netsky. The people were going crazy all night long, but it really got going when he started playing his set. The room was cooking, literally. The sweat dropped off the ceiling. Nearly everybody was topless and the crowd were like one hive mind. It sounds disgusting now, but the man, you should have been there. Since it was so hot inside the venue, everyone ran out with one bottle of water, which he or she regularly refilled at the bathrooms. And the banger of the night came. Every Day. This is Netsky, Every Day. Dal Brechtas says, about 12 years ago I was playing a gig and I had the honour of opening up for D-Bridge. At the time I was aware of who he was, but I didn't know how deep because I was still very young. To this day I look back on that night, all my best friends at the time, witnessing a masterclass in minimal bass in this tiny little local venue. And by D-Bridge, this is true romance. Dropped this last Friday at the Fox and Firkin with Danny Bird. It went off. Click Artist says, I remember going to a rave back in 1989 in Hackney. The rave was Future Is Now. We got there just as the police did, and we overcrowded them. So they let us have our party, and I remember the sun shining through the broken windows early in the morning, seeing all my eights sitting down off their rocker while I was still jumping around and listening to 808 State, Pacific State, blasting out the bins, the perfect tune at that time. Ayrton Kosarek says, I have yet to go to a rave myself. Ayrton, you've got to fix that, man. But I've always loved drum and bass, and subsequently every genre thereof since I heard Pendulum when I was maybe 12 or 13. What really set it off for me was watching Etherwood's Building 6 set and seeing you, Tony, come in at the end of the set and put your own spin on it. Absolutely legendary, and to this day I still watch it weekly. One day I'll catch you in Seattle. Sudaka. Sudaka says, a spring day in 2013, Asuncion in Paraguay. That night, heavy rain happened with ice cubes falling from heaven. I thought no one would be at the club that night, but it was 12 o'clock midnight, the family dinner ended, I grabbed my dad's car keys and headed to the club. The thing was, no one was driving around, the streets were empty, only a few people were seen across the windows in a McDonald's near the club. I was the first person at the club. I bought my ticket, and I was the only one there. Even the DJs weren't arriving yet. Well, at 2 a.m, I saw people coming, and surprisingly 2 friends from university arrived, touched my back, we shared a joint, and the magic happened. It was 7 a.m. without noticing it. Once I got out of the hut where we were dancing, it was a sunny Sunday morning. Ah, the good old days. The lineup that night was headed by Melina Trilt, Ed Brucely, and bass DJ. If you're reading this, guys, please get to know that it was one of the best nights of my life. So that goes to show you don't need global huge names to make an amazing rave. You just need the music and the experience and the people. Missy Carriagey, 90s New York City out. Oh, I think we've had you before. 90s New York City outlaws out in Sheepshead Bay, where someone mowed the tall. Are you Dutch? Someone mowed the tall grass enough to form a path into a dance circle in the middle of nowhere in Brooklyn, moshing to hardcore in abandoned warehouses, pop-up parties under the Brooklyn Bridge, day parties in Park Slope at Tompkins. I didn't realise that raves charged a cover fee until after about a year of just going to these outlaws. Our DHP Digital Limited, yes mate. I met my best mate Gav, aka the Bong Monster, when we were teenagers, and then I met my girlfriend and we all got on really well. We started hanging out in the 90s, doing lots of fun stuff together, and his parents went away. We had decks and I bought a future-bound track called Sorrow. We were all taking E in his kitchen with his parents away and coming up experiencing life together. We all used to go to the end, to Promised Land, watching legendary acts like LTJ, PFM, Pesce and everybody. Now, many, many years later, we are still best mates. We have kids that are teenagers. We live down the road. Life is what you make it. You are the average of your 3 closest friends. Make sure they're good ones. Love you, Gav and Gillian. Emily Duffin says, hearing Fabio and Groovardo drop LK in 2003 at the Bug Bar in Brixton, just as I was walking out. I turned around. I ran back in. And I carried on dancing.
Anytime we're around, this is what we do. It's the way that we play this sound. It's the way that we bring this sound to you. It's the way that we play this sound. It's the way.
I remember when I first heard this was at Motion.
Bring this sound to you. Hey yo, this is the way that I can best connect.
No, it was at Movement in London. Near Piccadilly Circus. And Pachif played it.
Just for tonight, the vibe is right, and I'm damned if I can hold it any, because it's the way.
Big up Stamina on the vocals. Absolute game-changing tune.
This sound is the way.
CJ Davidson 0 says, my first The North Quarter event at Miltveg in Amsterdam, seeing the night off with brilliant corners by Tokyo Pros. The whole night had me in euphoria with the ever beautiful mix of vocals and MCs on some of the best drum and bass in the game. And my final shout of this podcast, thank you for sticking with me till the end if you're still here. This is by Grant Tallboys, who says, not long after turning 18 in 2012, going to the jailhouse in Hereford with my best mates to a Danny Bird night and discovering what drum and bass is all about. The music and the community started my journey from that point. So that was amazing, that was emotional. Thank you for sharing a snapshot of your memories of connection created by going to raves, going to live events, meeting people, talking to people, dancing. I'm London Electricity. Thank you for listening to the Fast Soul Music Podcast. I'll see you on episode 46. One love, peace, free Palestine.